Welcome back to the House of Hoosier podcast presented by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. I'm Ian Plaskoff, joined by Noah Gerkey, and Indiana is victorious again, but this is the last time we can say this. It doesn't matter. Indiana victorious 76 to 74 over Baylor in the Indy Showdown exhibition inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Noah, I was there. I know you watched on Big Ten Plus. First thing, the crowd, the atmosphere. All I will say is, eh.
Yeah, well, that's what kind of happens when for an exhibition game, your initial Ticketmaster prices are like 50 to $75. I don't know what the play was there. Obviously, if the Colts are playing later on in the day, you would anticipate trying to get more people down to Indianapolis for the basketball game as well. And I would think about lowering ticket prices to get a better atmosphere. But then again, the argument is it's an exhibition game. The crowd shouldn't play too much of a factor. If it's going to be a neutral site, it's a true neutral site if there's not many people there. So you can play it both ways.
Official attendance listed was 4,507, and that certainly does feel accurate. It was loud in there in the big moments. I was there courtside, shooting the game for IUS TV, one of our student outlets here at Indiana. But it always sounds louder on the court, but the atmosphere was okay. It was solid. Just the visuals were interesting, to say the least.
Especially since it's an NBA arena. It's not like a smaller college arena that's half filled and you can make it look better. The NBA arena's got whatever it is 18,000 seats, something like that at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So like optically it doesn't look good when there's some cream and crimson, red and white sprinkled in and there's a whole bunch of black seats just behind. Like that's just not a good look.
There were actually a lot of Baylor fans there, and I was surprised. They were pretty energetic as well. It's interesting we bring up this point of Gainbridge and Lucas Oil because on December 6th, Indiana plays Louisville in basketball and then the Big Ten championship game at Lucas Oil that evening, which brings us to the mailbag segment. We have a Twitter comment or X comment for those of you that like to go by the proper name from Mayday at Mayday 31415. Are we going to be the first team to win natties in both football and men's basketball in the same year?
Are we asking me?
That's just the comment at hand. We can both give our answer here.
Okay. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. These are two exhibition games that do not count. One of them was an NAIA school, and one of them is a Baylor school that's kind of in a similar situation as Indiana when they brought back basically nothing. So they're kind of resetting too, and we don't know what they are as well. Listen, football looks great. National championship contender? Absolutely. Let's pump the brakes on basketball a little bit. I understand the hype. There's another game they came from behind, and we'll talk more about that later. They've continually done it in the exhibitions we've seen from them. I like the optimism. I would love it. I just chill. We haven't even played a game that counts on the record yet. We're still 0-0, just like all 356 other Division One teams are. Slow down just a little bit.
Here's what I'll say. Football, they have as good of a chance as anybody. Number two in the odds, I think, behind Ohio State. They will be likely playing on December 6th, which will be an all-time day for Indiana fans in Indianapolis. Basketball, we got to wait. Like you said, the the qualities of coming from behind and the qualities of playing fast, shooting the ball well, all do line up. But depth, size, what happens during an actual basketball season when games matter, actual foul outs, which did not happen in this exhibition. Um, yeah, I'm agreeing with you, Noah. Pump the brakes a little bit. Optimism is great. That would be, I mean, Scott Dolson's doing some serious work in Bloomington to make all 24 sports competitive, and these are the two big ones. So, you know, I like the optimism Mayday, but we'll chill out on that a little bit until further notice. We'll revisit it.
It's a great time to be an IU fan, especially in the sports world. Volleyball's playing great. Field hockey's turned it up as recent too. Coach Mercer's always got a good program in baseball. Terry Morin, she's gonna have the team playing well. They just destroyed. I think it was Missouri S&T. Is that who they played
Yeah.
yesterday? They beat them by a whopping 68 points. So it's a good time to be a fan in Indiana right now. And I can't imagine what the scene on campus would be like if we happen to win a national championship in football and basketball, because I don't know if we'd have a campus anymore.
We'll move on. Second of two in the mailbag for this episode from Andrew Lauren 04 on Instagram. Lamar Wilkerson is winning Big Ten Player of the Year.
Okay. Again, let's pump the brakes just a little bit. He looked really good. He's one of the most pure shooters we've seen. He struggled in game one, came back and responded in game two of the exhibitions. He looked really good. He showed very good flashes. You could have said the same thing about Trent Sisley, though, in game one, that he was going to win Big Ten Freshman of the Year, or Tucker DeVries is going to win Big Ten Player of the Year. There are a lot of talented players in this conference. It's probably one of the more deep conferences, top end player wise, in the country. Lamar Wilkerson will hopefully be great for Indiana. Player of the Year in the conference, there are some proven guys that he's really going to have to play exceptionally well, even if he has better numbers, just to go over the reputation of some of the other guys in the conference. He's going to have a tremendous season to win Big Ten Player of the Year.
Well, let's dive into what he did against Baylor and kind of break this game down a little bit. Wilkerson led all scorers in this game, 28 points on 6 of 15 shooting, 13 of 13 from the free throw line. Did foul out before the game ended, but there were no foul out rules, so he remained in the game. Had 4 assists as well, a couple of rebounds in 35 minutes. Um, he was really the guy in the first half. Connerway was more of the go-to guy in the second half. First half for Wilkerson, 16 points, 4 of 9 shooting, 7 of 7 from the charity stripe. Tucker DeVries had 9, and then nobody else had more than 5. When you have a guy, and I know Wilkerson was not at that level in game one in the exhibitions, but showing that potential against an excellent team, as always in Baylor, it's a good sign.
Especially to play throughout the entire game as he did. You see high level scorers sometimes score in spurts, but he was able to kind of continue it throughout most of the game, at least from what I was able to watch, is he had that continued success throughout the contest. And really, it was the free throw shooting as well, because we talked about how year in and year out Indiana struggles to shoot free throws. You're watching the last few minutes of that game and you're like, why are we making free throws? Why are we making both of a 1-and-1 to put us back up by one? Like, I'm not used to seeing it happen. 13 of 13 from the free throw line. We don't have a stats guy, but we might have to look up when the last time an IU player had more than 10 attempts and made all of them at the line.
Yeah, 20 of 21. I was sitting in front of what I believe to be a few members of either the Board of Trustees or some highly ranking members in the Indiana world. And I was sitting in front of them filming the game, and Indiana just kept hitting free throws, and they were like, huh? We haven't seen this before. And they just couldn't grasp it. I mean, it was hilarious and it was accurate. Um, Another fun thing from that spot, there were a couple kids in the area, and Indiana was stuck at 64 points for a while. I think you know where this may be going.
I
Every time Indiana stepped inside the three-point arc, the kids were like, "No, get out! No!" Yeah, those who know know. Those who don't even worry about it. Not worth your time. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Um, but no, the free throw shooting was very important, and especially in a place like Gainbridge where the depth perception is a little bit different behind the basket, it's encouraging. Um, and for a team that's going to be aggressive driving to the cup and it's going to be aggressive moving the ball and earning shots at the free throw line, knocking them down is when at this clip, it could win or lose a couple games.
Yeah, being able to hit free throws down the stretch kind of sets the tone for the rest of the game too. You can't just foul a team and expect to get the ball back with 1 or 0 points on the board. You're conceding points every time you foul down the stretch. With of recent hasn't felt like that. If Indiana's up 2 points, you can foul one of their guys and get it back still down just one possession. Teams are really going to have to work defensively. They're really going to have to earn it. In 20 of 21, the only missed free throw was the one right before the last possession of the game, which almost proved costly if a wild three-pointer would have fell. But down the stretch, Indiana's knocking down free throws left and right. And that not only is a vote of confidence for Indiana, but it's kind of hurts thought process of the defense coming down the stretch, knowing that you're going to concede points every time you foul.
Yeah, this was an interesting game in that both teams played to their strengths. I'll focus on Indiana here because, as we know, this team is not big. This team is not going to overpower you in the paint. It's not going to play through the paint. And in the first half, Indiana got out rebounded 19 to 11, gave up 8 second chance points, blocked 3 times. And DeVries was saying in at the halftime break, he got to his players and was like, "Hey, we got to play to our strengths, be more aggressive, try and steal the ball, move quicker." And they come out in the second half and they force 10 turnovers from blocks and steals in the second half. Um, and play fast. They got out rebounded in this game 44 to 25. But they only turned the ball over 9 times. They forced 16 turnovers. They gave up 16 offensive rebounds, but the second chance points were not terrible. Didn't shoot the ball well either, but they just made timely shots, free throws, and stole the ball at the proper times. And it got Indiana the win, which is a formula that years and years in past, I mean, it's something that we haven't seen before. It's kind of the flip side.
You talked about getting steals at the right time, and I believe of Indiana's like 16 forced turnovers, at least 10 of them had to be live ball turnovers, and that's huge in getting out in transition, especially for a team that likes to run fast, poking the ball free, keeping it in play, getting down the court in transition. They had 22 points off of turnovers as well, so they were able to capitalize on mistakes and kind of steal the momentum of the game right around, I think it was like the 12-minute mark in the second half, something really switched and they started getting aggressive on defense, getting after it, and really pushing the pace in transition. And then you saw late in the game when they kind of lost that lead, they slowed themselves down, and it actually hurt Indiana's offense more than you would think. You're coming down the stretch, you want to slow things down, run some shot clock. It actually hurt Indiana a lot more because that's not the style of play they're going to play at this year, and trying to go away from what they were is what we saw in the first half. That's not their identity. And so live ball turnovers and getting in transition were huge. And if they can do that almost the entire game, or at least for an extended period of stretches, that's where they're going to find their most success. It's not going to be in the extended half court offense.
I think that just shows if you look just at the most basic stat of all in the points box score. You look at Wilkerson 28, Connerway 15, DeVries 18, and you look at the bigs. Reed Bailey had 4 field goal attempts. Sam Alexis was 4 of 5 for 9 points, and then Connor Enright added two late as well, another guard. So this is a guard team, especially against a team like Baylor. And these guards, it's not like they're not getting in the paint. They outscored Baylor in paint points 34 to 28. So they're just finding ways to play to their strengths with who they have on the roster. And also, it is important to note post game that DeVries said they were keeping it extremely vanilla because they didn't want to give anything away for the regular season. So it was kind of just like, all right, guys, go out there and see what you can find. Um, and as it turns out, they can find their own way to play offense. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, the fact that you can create something without a set or without any sort of like, I'm sure they have an ideal like motion in their basic offensive set, but being able to create without running a play, being a way to find a way to score without knowing where to make a cut or when to make a cut or a set piece idea is huge because a lot of times, probably this year, you're going to run into a loud environment in the Big Ten. You're not going to be able to hear a play call, and you're going to have to create. You're going to have to know how each other on the court is playing. You're going to have to know where they're going to be in transition when you guys get stops, who's running to what corner, who likes to get to their left. Being able to create without having a set design is going to be key, especially in road Big Ten games down the stretch this year.
Yeah, the with the team that has returned no points, rebounds, assists, or turnovers like Indiana, and everybody's new. You don't really expect to have chemistry this early, but from being, I was sitting right next to the Indiana bench. Coaches were pretty silent the entire game. So whatever was happening on the court was just natural chemistry. And I mean, it's not like they weren't moving the ball. It's not like they were just playing ISO the entire game. They just had a feel for each other. especially between the two guards in Wilkerson and Connerway, who I'm starting to think will be one of the better guard tandems in the backcourt in the conference. Um, I just you think back to the Mike Woodson teams, the Archie Miller teams, some of the Tom Crean teams. I know this is kind of a weird flashback, but like you don't envision those guys just going out there and playing. And to see that, it just shows how modern this style of basketball is. And it's hard not to get like super like, overly excited about it because that's how basketball is now. You don't run just paint possessions every play. And if that doesn't work, then you have your scheduled backup plan. These guys know how to play basketball. They can just go out there and make for themselves.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you can drop any play that you want, but the players have to go out and execute or at least eventually put the ball in the hoop. You don't have to do dribble handoffs at the top of the key, Mike Woodson. We don't have to do that. We can create, you can play off of each other. And I loved it, especially in the pick and roll. I think it was two straight possessions in the second half. Baylor was hard hedging the screen. That means their big kind of steps out and like stops the dribble from the guard so the other guard can get back. And there are a few times where Conaway would drop a bounce pass into Alexis and either lay it in or he'd get fouled. And immediately Baylor's help side defense would have to jump. So what Conaway did the next possession, he took a back dribble, reversed it. DeVries swung it around the corner, and Wilkerson had a three. Being able to make those in-game adjustments on the fly is not a play. That is a feel for the game of basketball. That's knowing your pick and roll situations and knowing that they've got multiple guys that can create and do that no matter the offensive possession it's intriguing and it's kind of exciting.
I think another thing is like when Indiana was on the fast break, which was very often. Sometimes you would see, I remember one play in particular where Lamar Wilkerson finds himself with the basketball in a fast break, fast paced scenario, and he's like 5 feet behind the 3 point arc. He's open. He's a good 3 point shooter. Shoot it. And he did. And of course he made it because he was red hot that day. But when you're a team like Indiana with this many capable shooters, encouraging them to shoot is I mean we keep talking about how it's like we've never seen this and it's great to see, but it's just another thing to add to the list. I mean, it's Indiana basketball has been the same for so long, and this new style is so refreshing, and I can't understate that enough, no matter how many times we say it.
And even if the success isn't there right away, just seeing a different style of play, seeing a different way to attack can also help recruits in the modern era too. You see a team that's going to put up a whole bunch of threes. Well, maybe recruits that like to go hunt their 3 point shot want to come play. You mentioned the not being afraid to shoot or kind of encouraging them to shoot. In years past, it felt like some of Indiana's best shooters were just like waiting until they were wide open. Wilkerson does not wait until he's wide open. If he has any sort of space, he's letting it fly. Tucker DeVries, he'll create on his own. If he can get any sort of separation, he's going to let it fly. And that's what you have to do with these type of guys, these type of scorers, these type of shooters. You got to encourage them to shoot. If that's the brand of basketball you're going to play, you've got to be able to encourage those shots. And people get mad in transition. Why don't you run to the hoop for a layup instead of the corner for a three? With Indiana, that might be a better shot this year is the corner three in transition.
I want to focus on two different segments from this game. The first one is at the end of the first half, and the second one is at the end of the game. End of the first half, DeVries talked about this post game. Indiana was down by what 13, I think is what it got up to. And DeVries brought him into the timeout, said, "We cannot get this to 20. This cannot be who we are this year because it's happened in Puerto Rico. It happened. Yes, it did. Um, and Indiana comes out of that timeout, goes on a late run to cut it to five, I believe, at the end of the first half, 41-36. Sounds right. And then they use that momentum coming out of the halftime break. And Scott Drew said post game that they looked like a completely different team, and they did. Um, you in the Mike Woodson era of teams, when Indiana went down by 10 plus, it was very quickly 25 plus. And this is now the third time in four exhibitions that Indiana has come from behind, and it started with that first half spark at the end of the half.
One of a lot of few misconceptions about coming back in games is breaking it down by 4 minute segments. And coaches talk about it all the time. You're down 12, get us to within seven by the end of the under four timeout. Or we're down seven, get it down to five, get it down to four. Making those minor segments is huge. Hey, we can't fall down 20. Get us to eight. Get us to set like get us right there to where you're capable enough of a team on offense and creating those turnovers. You know it's bound to happen at some point in the second half. You're not uncomfortable being down by 8 points going into the half or 6 points going into the half. Whatever it ended up being, I think it was 41-36. That's not an uncomfortable spot to be in because you know your team's going to be there eventually. And that's impressed me. They've fallen down double digits multiple times now in exhibitions, and it hasn't been, all right, let's go home. Like, let's go. We're gonna chop it down, chop it down, chop it down. And then you've got all the momentum. You see a team's lead slowly wither away. You've got all the momentum in the world, and they took that really early on in the second half, right before like the last, I think it was 6 or 7 minutes towards the end of the game where Baylor started to make a push.
Yeah, end of the game, it was free throw shooting. I mean, neither team shot the ball well. The three pointers were kind of flying. There were a few threes from Baylor that really kept them in late in the game. I'm looking at the play-by-play here. Indiana was up 67-62, 68-62 with 4:15 to go. And then Baylor kind of kept it close the entire way. Oh wait, no, never mind. Ignore what I said. Baylor was up 68-62. Um, okay, no, I'm just
Well, Indiana was up
yes.
68-62 with
The folks
4:15 to go.
the fine folks at Stat Broadcast need to make their play-by-play sheet.
They've got the Baylor makes is red.
Yeah,
That's intriguing.
please fix that, fine folks at Stat Broadcast. Indiana was up 68-62 with 4:15 to go. Baylor made it close, took the lead at 70-68 with 2:10 to go. Um, Two free throws from Lamar Wilkerson tied it up at 70, and then there were more free throws. Baylor took the lead on another three from Dan Skilling, so two timely threes there from Baylor, but a DeVries jumper, the Connerway and one, and then a strong defensive possession at the buzzer sealed the deal. The strategy at the end of the game, um, Connerway was the guy. Connerway was the second half guy. He was doing whatever he wanted. Um, Keeping the ball in his hands was a good decision in my eyes. And I was talking about this with a couple of guys last night, actually, with thinking back to the Purdue game at Mackey this past year, where Miles Rice was not the guy. And Miles Rice tried to win the game when he was not the guy. Trusting the guy when he is the guy is it tends to work. And Connerway was that. As we've said, this team was not running plays. This team was working solely based off of chemistry in this game and having their teammates trust Tate and Connerway in that situation. Um, I liked it. I really did. It's better than having a design play where you trust a guy that was not on for that whole game. I know it's one example, but it's recency bias from last night.
Yeah. The one difference as well is you expect Connerway, at least the way he played in the second half, facilitating the offense, if he draws two defenders, kick it out, make the right pass. Because the end of game situation at Mackey Arena, Miles Rice drew Luke Goody's defender and he drew Mbako's defender too. And rather than making the extra pass to the two of the better shooters on the team, he tried playing hero ball and missed a shot. Connerway is one of those guys, and you could tell throughout the second half because he was the main facilitator in the pick and roll. It wasn't Lamar Wilkerson, it was Connerway. If he's going to get by his defender, he's a smart enough player. He knows it well enough. Help side defender is going to draw. I'm going to kick it out for a three. Okay, I've got a layup. I'm going to go get fouled and lay it in. And that's having the guy. And it helps doing it in exhibition games because you're surely going to have games this year, whether it be non-cons against Kansas State, Kentucky, Louisville, or Marquette, that come down to the wire. And you have to go get a basket or you have to make the heads up play. And having that sort of practice being, hey, Connerway was the guy tonight. that's who we're going with. It's not always going to be him, but he was the guy in the second half, and that's who we're going to put the ball in the hands of.
From what I saw being right by the Indiana bench, there was minimal communication from the coaching staff in that situation. I do kind of want to break this down from what I saw just because I think people will find it interesting. If you look at the Indiana coaches on the bench, DeVries is often um, standing by the scorer's table, just kind of watching, or kneeling down by his players, communicating a little bit with them. The main vocal guy is Kenny Johnson. He has been up. He was pretty much on the court whenever Indiana was not in that area of the half court. The other assistants are relatively quiet, but DeVries, when he does speak, it's very quiet, it's very soft spoken, and he says things like encouraging his players to be more aggressive in his own unique way. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it's nothing super authoritative. It's pretty. It just feels to me like he trusts his guys to know what he's thinking at that moment. Um, and the players are encouraging each other and communicating with each other from the bench. And Kenny Johnson's the main guy. So keep an eye on that for any of you watching either in person or on TV. The dynamics of this coaching staff with the players. It is really fascinating.
You mentioned the bench too, especially when a team's so brandly new put together. The energy that the guys on the bench have and the communication on defense from the guys on the bench is just as important as the guys on the floor because that's instant energy. You make a big three, they're jumping up and down, which we kind of saw at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. They were getting into it. You were right in front of the bench. You probably got a better idea of it than I do, but that's huge for guys who just met each other a few months ago. Having that sort of energy and fun and connection on the court, all trending towards the same goal, it it's cool. It's fun. It's fun to play basketball a modern way and have guys who care about winning at Indiana. And that's another intriguing dynamic of this team is that they already seem to love playing with each other on the court, whether on the bench, whether they fouled out or should have fouled out, they keep their head up. They all seem to love playing with each other.
Yeah, that bench was really fun to be around, and it felt like they never sat down for more than a minute or two in that second half in particular. But it's also important to note there are a lot of guys that were on that bench that were either injured or scheduled not to play. They'll have their time, but they weren't sulking in it. They were encouraging the guys that were able to play. Ristich was on the bench. Nick Dorn was on the bench, I believe. Josh Harris was there, I think, as well, and they were still in a positive mindset, even though they weren't playing. Achimovic was also not playing.
He might
Very
have had the most
thin
energy on the bench.
rotation. What was that?
Achimovic might have had the most energy on the bench. His facial expressions after the end one, after the late threes, I mean, he was getting into it. And we've seen in years past when people sit out due to injuries or are DNPs for coaches' decisions on other things that happen, and they get upset. They're like, oh, it should be me out there. Oh, like we'd be better with me out there. That doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like they're all playing towards the common goal. And when Josh Harris and Dorn and Ristich get back, they're going to contribute in their own ways. And I guarantee if it's DeVries or Alexis or Bailey on the bench watching those guys succeed, it's going to be the same reaction.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this group bonds together, and I'm excited to be around this team for the entire season for in a bunch of different capacities. But we didn't get to talk to players after the game. They had to sign autographs and go immediately, so I didn't get that perspective there. But it just felt like Darren DeVries was immensely proud of what his team was able to do. Even though it didn't count, Scott Drew also gave him a ton of credit. DeVries gave Scott Drew and Baylor a ton of credit. And really, the whole media availability from both coaches boiled down to this was an amazing game and an amazing opportunity for both teams to learn, to develop, and to play in a different situation than they're used to in practice. But the best part about it was that it came down to the wire and the game included a little bit of everything because those aren't reps that you can get in any other situation.
You can't simulate end of game situations in practice. So you can put 5 seconds on the clock, but it doesn't feel the same as playing against another team in a different colored jersey, especially when it comes down the stretch. And it was basically a game of runs, too. How do you handle adversity when a team comes back and late in the second half with a minute to go? How do you bounce back from that? And that's the best part about these exhibitions is it's always nice to play Marion. It's always nice to play a team that you can blow out by 40 points, but you need some competitive games to put you in those situations when it comes to game time as well. Like in the Big Ten or in the competitive non-conference, you need those type of exhibition games. And so Baylor fans shouldn't take the result too seriously. One, because it doesn't matter. Indiana fans shouldn't take it too seriously, but it's a beneficial opportunity. You get to play another very talented team and you get to find out a lot about yourself and how you handle things down the stretch.
Indiana did handle business. Before we wrap up, we will all re-mention the mailbag segment. You can call us at the number, DM us on Twitter, Instagram, reply to any of our posts to be featured on the next episode and future episodes of House of Hoosier. Noah, final thoughts as Indiana beats Baylor 76-74 in the exhibition.
I liked what I saw. They handled adversity. They got out rebounded, but found ways to win. They forced turnovers, they hit threes, and they made clutch baskets down the stretch. Kind of a little bit of everything that we haven't really seen over the last few years. We saw in spurts throughout the game, and I'm very excited to see how this team goes moving forward. I think it's like a week from tomorrow, game one.
November 5th at Simon Scott Assembly Hall against Alabama A&M. Game one of many, and hopefully that question is unanswered with how many postseason games they play. We don't know the final number or if there is any number at all. But game one is November 5th at home against Alabama A&M. The final exhibition is wrapped up. Again, 76-74. Indiana beats Baylor at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in the Indy Showdown. For Noah Gerkey, I'm Ian Plaskoff. Another thanks to our producer, Henry Thuss. Another episode of House of Hoosier is in the